Mikið gaman að koma hérna og sjá hvað vel mætt. Fyrstur á dagskrá hérna eftir hádegi Erling Berserker, ráðgjafi frá Norskó í Oslo og hann ætlar að fjalla skattaívilnanir í skógrækt, forest tax systems and impact on forestry activities. Gjör það svo vel.
Okay. Well, then I will share my screen. So hopefully this will work. Do you see the slides now? Okay, try it again. Do you see them now? Good. And you see them, then I think, do you see only one or do you see two slides at a time? Good. Then I will start. My name is Erling Berserker and I work with Norskog, which is a forest owner association in Norway. And there I've been working also quite a lot with forest tax system. So I will try to share some of my experience. The starting point is, well, I have, after some years now, up to 40 years of experience with working on this subject on and off actually. And I have been working with a lot of other things as well, but all the time quite a lot on forest tax systems, and also participated in a couple of research and development projects on that item. But the aspects I would like to go into, I think I was asked to go into, it's how tax on forest properties and forest income, how it will have an impact on the activities in forestry, like harvesting activities, silviculture activities, sustainable forestry practices, and investments in future planning and infrastructure and development on property structure. And it's important how we think that the tax system should be designed to contribute to a wanted development of the forestry sector. We want to have forestry, we want to have some harvesting activities, of course. We want to have silviculture activities, not at least. And it's important that that the tax system encourage the forest owner to do or to practice the forestry like we think is good for the society. Especially when it comes to impact on harvesting activities, the main problem often is that high marginal tax rate. It reduces the willingness to harvest. And this is especially important for forestry as quite often the income is not even from one year to another. You could have 1 year with quite high income and the next year with no income, and then high income some years later. So as the activity often is not quite even on the properties, especially for the mean property like we have in Norway and Sweden as well, where the size of the property makes it profitable to collect some harvest activities to some years. So you get best prices both for the timber and for the harvesting operations. But that has some, when you collect it to some years, you have high intake 1 year and no intake the other year, and that could be a problem. as long as we have some marginal tax rate or a progressive tax system like we often have available. So some solutions of this is both could be depreciation possibility of acquisition cost for the forest property. We could have offset possibility to cover future investment costs to also then reduce the income each year. But not at least possibilities for tax equalization. So you even the tax income from the year to the other, the taxable income from one year to another. I will return to that and then explain how this is done in Norway and Sweden. And of course, in general, the depreciation rates. I will also return to that to some extent. We have also the impact from the tax system to the investment practices, which is quite important actually, and the investment cost after tax could sometimes be high, but that could also be reduced with some depending on how the tax rules are made. So these high investment costs after tax, of course, will reduce the willingness to make new forest investments in general, and especially low investments for silviculture. And the possible solution to that is depreciation rates or offset possibilities to cover future investment costs, and possibility for direct recognition of silviculture expenses. So you and how this is done also in the different countries, I will return to, and also I will return to some special solution for that, how it is done in Norway, for instance. Then we have the tax impact on development of forestry over the property structure. And there it's a high transfer cost for forest properties, which might be a problem, which sometimes leads to low willingness to offer forest properties for sale, or low willingness to invest in improvement of forests, or to expand the property, or reduce profitability of the forest sector in general. And how this is solved in some countries is depreciation rate for acquisition cost for buying forest properties. This is, for instance, used in Sweden, low profit, and Finland. Low profit tax for seller is to some extent used in Norway. So it's more than profitable to sell a property or offer a property for sale. And low wealth tax for forest properties. Yeah. So this was in general how tax system could work, but here in this matrix show how this is solved in the different countries. When it comes to the marginal income from the forestry business, so it's taxed in Norway and Sweden like ordinary salary income in general. That's the main rule actually. But there are some in Norway there are some minor portion of the income is taxed like financial income, but in Sweden it's a larger portion of the tax that is taxed of the income that is taxed like financial income. And in both in Norway and Sweden we have a system for tax equalization. So we make the tax income, the taxable income, more even from one year to another, and which solves the problem of the uneven forestry income. In Finland, the forestry income is handled like financial income, and then it's a flat tax rate. So then you don't need that tax equalization. In Denmark, the forestry income is taxed like ordinary salary income. And then, so you see, the rules are not quite the same from country to country, but there are some similarities, definitely. When it comes to property sales, so in Norway there are no, you could sell your property from father to son, or father to daughter, or mother to son, or whatever. Inside family, there are no profit tax when you sell your property, but when you sell the property outside your family, then the profit from the sale of the property is taxed like financial income. It's a flat tax rate. And in Sweden, they also have this flat tax rate. It's taxed like financial income, so it's and that is normally lower than the tax rate from as a salary. In Finland as well, it's taxed like a dividend, but in Denmark it's taxed like salary, so that's more expensive for the seller. And also in all the countries have some tax for procurement of forest properties. You pay some kind of tax calculated from the price you have paid for the property. And in Norway it's 2.5%. In Sweden some lower, and in Finland some higher. And in Denmark the lowest rate for that. When it comes to depreciation rates for forest properties, in Norway there are we do not have any possibilities for depreciation of the acquisition cost when you buy a property, forest property. In Sweden, however, there are depreciation up to 50% of the cost, even higher when you buy the property from your neighbor. And the system, by thinking by that, is that they want to encourage the forest owner to enlarge the property by buying additional area when it's for sale in your neighborhood. In Finland, more or less the same as in Sweden, they have the depreciation possibility up to 50%. In Denmark, there are none, like in Norway. So you see, especially Denmark and Finland have, from the forest owner perspective, quite nice rules for handling the transfer or handling the situation which encourage the forest owner to enlarge his properties. And maximum annual depreciation rates for technical equipment in your forestry activity is between 25 and 30%. So there are no big differences between the countries. And the silviculture cost and depreciation of those are also the same, actually 100%, which means that you write off the depreciation cost completely the year you have the cost, which is good. And we have no property tax in neither Norway or Sweden or Finland, but in Denmark there are some property tax for property. But in Norway we have a wealth tax, which could be up to 1% of the calculated value of the forest property. This calculation of forest value for this purpose is quite low, actually. So, but in Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, there are no such wealth tax. But anyhow, even in Norway, it's considered to be quite cheap to own a forest when it comes to wealth tax. In Norway, we have wealth tax in general, and the wealth tax in forestry is considered to be lower than in other businesses. So it makes it interesting for a lot of investors to own forest properties, then they reduce their wealth tax actually. Inheritance tax we do not have in Norway or Sweden, but in Finland and Denmark there are inheritance tax. So which then contributes to make transfer of forest properties within family, which includes inheritance. A part of it, it's not that lucrative in Finland and Denmark like it is in Norway and Sweden. I have just to say that some of the tax rates that are mentioned here might have been changed since I made this slide, which is some years ago. So there might be some changes. So then I have speak to some extent about the tax equalization, and which is a quite useful thing to have for forest income, which quite often is uneven. The former rule in Norway used to be that the taxable forest income is similar to the average of actual forest income for the last 5 years. We do not have that rule anymore. Now it's some more flexible system, which is that the economic result from each year are added into a forest account. This is not an account in the bank, but just in your accounting system. And you account for 20 to 100% of the balance of this forest account. And you choose yourself when you would like to account for the income. So it's more flexible than the former system, but some people consider this more complicated also. But in general, it's a more flexible system. Sweden has a similar system, but they have actually it's even more flexible. But they have 2 options, and they could use both of them. For them, up to 50% or up to 40% of the gross income from the wood sales, or up to 60% of a stumpage income could be set aside to a forest bank account, and then it's a bank account. These offsets are not accounted for, and the offset has to be accounted for within 10 years. And which could be expanded up to 20 years. When the offset is from some kind of forest, it should be damages. But they do also have the system more similar to the Norwegian. Up to 30% of the annual profit could be set off to an actual fund. The income has to be accounted for within 6 years. So the Swedish system is somewhat more complicated, but actually more flexible than the Norwegian system. But the main thing is that both Norway and Sweden, we have systems for tax equalization for the forest income, which is, I think it's quite important actually. Then we have a special system in Norway I would like to go into for some more details. And this is the Forest Trust Fund. And actually we have had this in some way since 1932, so it's quite an old system. But the current, how it's designed now, has been more or less in the same way since the 1980s. And the annual, each property are obliged to make an annual offset in a range of 4 to 40% of the gross income from the sales of wood. So this offset is actually paid into a unique account for each forest property managed by the forest authorities. So all forest owners in Norway, they have such a forest account managed by the forest authorities. And this account is there to finance investments on the same forest property. It's even so that when the forest is sold, this account follows not the forest owner, but the forest property. And the forest owner achieves no interest from the offset. All the interest is managed by the forest authorities for common goods of the forestry sector. And the offsets could be used for different purposes. For instance, silviculture expenses, forest management planning costs, cost for forest road construction, and cost for maintenance of forest roads, and cost for forest insurance. And what is quite important then is that when spending forest trust fund for such purposes, you only account for 15% of the spent amount, which is a kind of tax benefit linked to the system. I will describe that with some examples. I made some calculations here. I just made an example with a forest owner which have a marginal tax rate of 42%, and he has decided to make an offset of 20%, which is between 4 and 40%. It's quite often forest owner chooses normally between 10 and 20% is most normal. And the tax benefit rate, which is fixed and according to the rules, is 85%. And there are, in this calculation example, it's no governmental support. I will return also to that later on. But first, to understand the system, I make a calculation with no trust fund, and I then just for this example is a property with timber sales income of 500,000 could be Norwegian crowns, and a harvesting cost of 200,000, and a silviculture cost of 100,000. So this is then this property will have a taxable then net income before any equalization of 200,000. 500 minus 200 minus 100 is 200. And he will then, from this 200,000 in the taxable net income, will have an income tax of 84,000. And the net income tax and net income after tax is then 116,000. And you see then the income tax with no silviculture cost would have been the income after tax with no silviculture cost would have been 174,000. So then the silviculture cost after tax then is 174,000 minus 116,000 is 58,000. This is the system how it works, would have been working with no trust fund. So with trust fund then, the calculation would have been like this. We have still the timber sales income of 500,000. We have the harvesting cost of 200,000, like described in the first example. But then you have also a trust fund offset of 100,000, and you have the silviculture cost of 100,000. But then you use the trust fund to pay the silviculture costs, but you only account for 15% of this, so that you have to account for 15,000. So then the taxable income, the taxable net income is 115. It's 500,000 minus 200,000 minus 100,000 minus 100,000 plus 15,000. This 115,000. The income tax would be 48,300. But you have to add the tax-free income for you, which is then the 85% of the trust fund you have used to pay for the silviculture cost. So then the net income tax is 151,700. And so you see the silviculture cost then after tax is 22,300, when using the trust fund, but it was 58,000 when we had no trust fund. So you see, the actual net cost after tax is much better for the forest owner with this trust fund and with no trust fund. So this trust fund is quite popular amongst the forest owners, and it's described by law, so it's a stable system as well. So then this could also be combined with governmental grants, and which is done especially on the west coast of Norway. Then we have still the timber sales income of 500,000 in the example, and with the harvesting cost the same as, but then you only need to have the offset of a trust fund with 50,000 as you achieve also governmental support of 50,000, but you still have the silviculture cost of 100,000, and you have to account for 15% of the spent trust fund, which then is 15% of 50,000, so it's 7,500. Then the taxable income is 207. You have the income tax, and you have to add the tax-free income, and you have the net income after tax. So then the silviculture cost after tax and grant is 11,150, and actually the cost was 100,000. So then it's get quite cheap for the forest owner. So the system works quite well. It works quite well, especially in the areas where we have forests to harvest, where it demands to work, it demands that you actually have forest income. The Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry have made a calculation system to assist forest owners if they would like to calculate what kind of offset rate they would like to have for their forest, for the forest trust fund. So that kind of calculator is available for any forester or any person who would like to enter into the homepage of the ministry. They have made such support system, and they have spent a lot of money to for training systems, so the forest owner learns or understands how that system works, as it could be considered some complicated. And our experience from use of the Forest Trust Fund is that the system is regulated by law and stable, which is quite important. It generates both harvesting and investments. It works well in areas where you can generate forest income. The system is considered some complicated, as I mentioned. It secures financial capacity for forest investments, and the actual tax benefit increases with increases tax rate. So it's especially important for a profitable system for people who have high income and high income tax. But as I mentioned, the Forest Trust Fund demands possible forest income to work. So in the western, along the west coast of Norway, we have not the same forestry activity and tradition like we have in the eastern part. So in this part, we have been focusing the afforestation and establishment of forest for decades. Maybe, as I understand, somewhat similar to what the situation is in your country. But we are starting to get also there some forestry income. But the system, as mentioned, it needs the possibility to generate forest income to work. So we have in there, that part of the country, normally also governmental grant, significant governmental grant for forest investment in silviculture, especially afforestation. So that's it. Any question?
we have some questions here. Einhver með spurningar? Já.
Thank you, Erling. Very timely talk to give us here in Iceland. And this morning we were actually talking about how we could create possibilities for investment in infrastructure in forestry. And we are also at the West Coast in Norway just starting to have some income. But this is definitely one of the ways we need to go in the coming 20 years. But there was one thing that I got interested, and you just mentioned a little bit forest damages.
I can't hear or see any questions, so then I guess it might be so complicated described that you didn't understand anything of it, or whatever, I don't know.
Do you hear me now, Erling? No. Do you hear me now, Erling? No. Það ekki hérna, sko. Þetta gengur ekki.
Can you hear us now, Erling?
Þá skulum við bara gefa Erling gott klapp. Næstur á dagskrá Úlfur Óskarsson.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you, Erling. Do you hear us now? No? Okay. Já.